In this case here, where we want to spot some number patterns, it's probably not such a good idea to use a counter that you can't see through. You notice also here that the counter is too big for the board. In other words, it's going over the square, and so we'd want to use a slightly smaller counter. So I'm going to use these red ones, and you notice that they fit well within the square, plus we can still see the number underneath. So let's have a look what happens here. We can see here this is the 9 times table. We can still see those patterns that are existing there, and so you start to see that it gives us a diagonal. That's the diagonals going from the top left to the top right to the bottom left of the board. This board's quite good too because it goes beyond 100. You notice it goes away all the way to 120. So we start to see this pattern that's emerging, and I might want to look at a couple of aspects of that pattern. The nice part here is you can see through those counters. So one pattern would be, well, what do you notice when you add 1 and 8, or 2 and 7, or 3 and 6, or 4 and 5? They're all examples, they all add up to 9. Well, does the pattern extend beyond 100? Well, let's have a look at 117. That's 1 and 7 is 9. So yes, the pattern continues. If we'd use, say, a red counter and an opaque one that you couldn't see through, then we couldn't obviously do that with those counters. Another thing to think about is, the question would be, why is it that we're getting this pattern that goes this way? Why is it that it's stepping down that way? It's going from the top right of the board to the bottom left. So that would be a reasoning type question, because let's look at what happens if I start to look at the pattern of the 11 times table. So all I'm doing is moving those counters into a different spot now. We don't necessarily have to do them all, but you'll start to see what's going on here. Now I've got the pattern where the diagonal is going from the top left of the board down to the bottom right. Now why would that happen? Now my clue is it's because of the width of the board, that it goes from 1 to 10. By the way, some people prefer a 1 to 120 board. Others would prefer that we start at 0 and then we end on the 9 and start the new row on the 10. We'll talk a little bit more about that at another time.